So last year you may have seen this scary skull video. This time I'm going to take it a little further. In that video, I said you could continue in the latex and cotton stage. Since I already showed you how to build one, I'll bypass the basic construction of the skull itself. For those of you that didn't see it, I basically took a plastic skull from Lindbergh and tweaked it a lot, using items you should be able to find locally or online. That was redundant. I added teeth, eyes, glued the jaw open, and showed you how to clean it up of its casting seams. From there, I showed you how to use latex and cotton, which you can see me doing here. The latex and cotton, when dry, will look like leathery skin, just like your mom's. So let's sit back and see what I'm doing. Kind of like to know where I'm going with this. I went to Davis Dental in North Hollywood for the teeth. For this skull, I bought upper and lower anterior teeth number 266 and upper and lower posterior teeth 34M. I chose the most yellow teeth I could to save time painting later, and the tooth shade is 81. The Kitcraft store is just right down the street from me, so I go in and get the skull and most of my modeling tools, super glues, sanding sticks for the seams, stir sticks, clay, etc. Ordered the eyes online from Van Dyke's Taxidermy. I ordered the human eyes. It was the largest eye I could get with the smallest iris. With William Stout's permission, I'm using his Tarman as inspiration. Plus, I've always been a fan of his zombie work, and I figured this would be a nice way to pay tribute to William Stout. Once it's dry, I'll go back in and add little bits of cotton and latex to create wrinkles and other details. As with most of these creations, they sort of evolve as you're building them. And so this one I've decided to put shoulders on. And so the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to take this head off of this base, and I'm going to attach more pipe and change the orientation of the head a little bit. So let me go ahead and do that real quick. So first, mix up some epoxy putty. Most epoxy putty comes in a single tube with part A and B already together, just not mixed. One is wrapped around the other, like how your nose wraps around your fingers when you pick it. Oh, and I'd normally never be caught in a wife beater, but I shot this in late September when LA had its record-breaking heat wave, so sorry if I stink a little. The next thing I did was use that spray foam in a can you can get at any hardware store. The first stage is covering the dowels and the pipe. Adding too much at this stage won't work because the foam will expand too much and fall away from your art project under its own weight. You have to add it in stages to give it something more to bite onto each time. You should try to wait at least an hour in between build-ups. Once I felt there was enough foam for a base, I got out the anatomy book and drew on some rough lines as to where the bone structure should be. From there, I built up more foam using my lines as a guide. Then I start to shave off slices until I feel good about the anatomy. I got this knife from the 99-cent store. I recommend you get a few, as the foam dulls the blades of knives pretty quick. With some of the leftover foam, I sprayed enough, just a tiny squirt really, to make a tongue. Once that had cured, I carved with a big knife, then moved down to a razor blade to shave it down into shape. Be careful and try not to cut your hands or your face off when you're using the razor blade. Okay, so the next step is just a quick down and dirty way to cover the body. Instead of cotton, I used paper towels. Just a quick note, Viva paper towels absolutely rock for this application. Viva paper towels dry and look just like leathery flesh, again, just like your mom's. After the paper towel dries, I add loose interpretations of muscle shapes. Once that's dry, I cover those with paper towels, and on the parts I know I would see later, I covered those with cotton for the fleshy look, and to disguise the paper towel patterns, like in the neck. Next, on to painting. I personally like the look of washes on these zombies. The paint gets all into the nooks and crannies and drips down following a natural groove. I suck at airbrush. So first I use a light green base color. I sort of see it like this. Washes are paint that's so thin it slips into the cracks and away from the high points. So I start with a light color so they will remain in the higher areas, and as I add darker colors they build up in the cracks and darken the lower spots. This process works on every single wrinkle. For a smooth surface, airbrush is the best, but for grungy, rotten, gross, dead things like your mom, you need to build up with washes. The last thing I do after adding a little more stretchy bits is to mix up some 5-minute epoxy and add a little bit of acrylic paint to tint it. I would have used the proper tints, but again I was rushing. While adding the stretchy bits, I decided to create a wound on his head, so I added some of this dry, shiny blood goop to the wound as well. I also mixed up some more 5-minute epoxy, but without any tint, to add shine to his eye sockets. Maybe crying because he's sad. So there you go, from this to this in about 8 minutes. Thanks for watching. See you next year in Scary Skull 3.